It's been I'm sure it's overwhelming for the kids to a degree, but for me it was a little bit, not in a negative way, because I just wanted to meet everybody. I wanted to learn faces and names, and I thought the camp was really run so well. Mike Ellis and his staff did a great job. We were out there assisting and having a little bit of input, but it was really good for us just to interact with all the kids and stuff and get to know them, and talented group. I'm really excited about them.
What do you make of Schaefer, just your first impressions?
Oh, he's first of all, he's a great kid. He's very engaging, has an outstanding personality, and he's willing to come outside his comfort zone. He's obviously very talented, has a lot of very good skills and stuff, but there were some things out there that Mike was teaching guys that aren't always taught necessarily coming up, and they're valuable, and he's a good kid. He has a good sense of humor as well, so it was a great first impression for me because I'd never met him before.
I know a few days of camp, there's still probably more you don't know about him than more you know about him, but based on what you've seen so far, do you feel like he can, compete and maybe make the NHL roster this year?
Well, I've seen it before in the past with young D and being able to step in, and so you can't judge a player out in this camp, anybody, whether you're Schaefer or one of the other, let's say a later round pick who's young. So that's not the purpose of this camp, to evaluate them. The purpose is to give them some skill sets that they probably never had before. And what you're asking, that'll come later, because I've never seen them play. This is me personally. I'm not a scout, and so I'm sure Matthew Darsh and their staff, they have much more intimate knowledge of him as a player. For me, it's just getting to know him as a person. Yeah.
A lot of guys mentioned just the heads-up drill you've been running on the ice and passing. And is that something you did back in Windsor or back in your coaching days and brought it here?
Well, Mike is a big proponent of that. It just so happens that I am as well. And so that's why you could see me. That was a detail for me that I think is so overlooked with young hockey players. Is they're all fast. They can shoot the puck 100 miles an hour. Not all play with their head up. And that's really where hockey sense comes from, is getting your eyes and taking in information and seeing it. So I think it's really valuable, and it's a habit that can be taught even if you don't necessarily have it. And so that's what the purpose is. Details like that out there on the ice is very important for me. So I'd have Mike whistle it, bring him in, and just continue to reinforce that at the very end. On that last lap that we did, and everybody comes in at the very end. That was one message I gave him. I said, you guys are talented. You can do a lot of these skills. The one thing that I see that we had to continue to harp on is you guys brought your eyes down to the puck in situations where you didn't have to. And if you can translate that into what we're trying to teach you out here, your offense is going to be elevated. It doesn't matter if you're a 5-point guy, you might get 10 points. If you're an elite offensive guy already, and you can tell a guy like Schaefer, he does it. So you can tell that he has that offensive club in his bag. There's things that he can do that could be better, without a doubt. Everybody has that. Some other players, they don't have that, but they can elevate that, and that's what I'd like to see when we come back in September.
Still very early, you being hired, but how do you go about, as a AHL coach, developing a really good relationship with Patrick, so you two wind up on the same page? And how far into that do you think you are right now?
Probably 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not 24 hours in a day. Literally him and I in the same room talking hockey, and their whole staff, right? And I have a relationship with Bob Bugner, obviously, from the past. We literally have been communicating on hockey nonstop for the last 3 days, I guess 4 days now. Yeah. Today, not as much because I was out on the ice and stuff, but it's been great. That's how you get to know what they want, what they're looking for, and Patrick was great. Like because as a coach in the American League, sometimes you don't want to impose yourself at all. Like you don't want to be in the room, but like you feel like maybe you're imposing. He was the opposite. He was just saying, "No, come in here. We want input. We want to discuss this." And I was able to witness the banter that they're having and the debates that they're having on structural things and stuff, that they're deciding for the coming season. And it's important for myself, so I know what they want, so I can implement those things in the American Hockey League. So the transition for our young guys, if they do get called up, is they can hit the ground running and have success.
What can you tell us about the assistant coach hirings that you made and just the process?
Dave Conness is an older coach. Not old. He's not old. Gosh, he's barely older than I am. I don't feel like I'm old, but he has a lot of lot of experience, and he has a great track record working with the defensemen, and that was something. I had a relationship with him in the past, never worked, but worked against each other for years. Played against each other a little bit too in the American League, so he's very good with the D, and that was something that was important for me. And then Chad Kolarek is a person who's not far removed from retiring. Was an offensive hockey player, worked at the National Development Program, so he's actually familiar with some of our prospects as well and helped develop them at a younger age. And he's more on the power play side and the offensive side. So I thought it was a great compliment between those two and a great compliment for myself. So I'm really excited about the staff that we were able to put together.
How excited are you to work with Matt Mangio, who was a captain in juniors, and it seemed like he was very active tutoring some of the younger players?
I've known him since he was a little boy. Yeah, and his father kind of worked with us in the Spits. It must be 10, 12 years ago now, and he was one of my daughter's friends in school and stuff. So I know him well from as a young man, a young boy, I guess, and he's a young man now. Not as much as a hockey player anymore. I know his development really went through the roof in Windsor in his last year of junior, and had a great rookie year. And then last year, obviously, it was a tough year for everybody. So it's hard to judge in that environment because, when you're in that situation, you kind of tend to look at points and stuff, and it's hard when nobody's generating anything. So I'm excited to work with him this year, as I am with all the players, and they all get fresh starts this year and can kind of cut loose from the past and have a great summer. And they're, like I said, it's a fresh start and an opportunity for us to help them grow as well.
Even when your back was turned, could you sort of always tell when Cole Eiserman was getting off a shot?
He shoots the puck hard. You can tell. We would talk about it, just how fast his hands are through his stick and his release and stuff. Yeah. What did he have, 25 goals last year in BC? Yeah, it's impressive as an 18-year-old player. And another really good kid, really receptive. Like I said, we're showing them different things out there, and all these kids were great. Like, they were very receptive and trying their best to implement the things that we're talking about.
How important was it for you, especially getting to know these guys, to have a development camp right after the draft, as opposed maybe like in late September or early September?
Well, for me personally, it's huge because I didn't know anybody coming in, being new to the organization, even some of the players that have been here that were in Bridgeport last year, for example. It's great. So, and just to get on the ice and just kind of start that relationship. The relationships are really important to me, I believe. When the players start to trust you, and that takes time, then you can start to teach them once they trust you. It doesn't work the other way around, so that's what I'm trying to do here.
Richie, just what were your impressions, working with him these last few days? Richie.
Oh, good. Yeah, he was good as well. Yeah, from Colorado, another OHLer from Oshawa, right? Yeah, no. First of all, physical attributes are outstanding, and he skates well. And so, but again, I'm not judging guys on what I see out here because we're trying to tell them to come out of their comfort zone. I'll give you an example. When I'm talking about their eyes being up, they're going to lose the puck out there. And so it's like, I'm not judging you if you lose the puck. I'm judging you if you won't even try. That's the only thing. And so that they all passed that judgment for me because they were trying. They were trying their best, and they were keeping it up, and they were failing. Perfect. Now we can work with that. And so from an attitude perspective, outstanding. As a player, I didn't judge anybody as a player. Yeah, not at all. You had a question, though.
How have the European skaters that just got drafted, like Fulton and Procarov, kind of adjusted really early on in a whirlwind of a week for them?
I thought great. I can't even pronounce his name, but the tall Russian Procarov, quite impressive, to tell you the truth, because he doesn't speak any English, and he's obviously, you saw his emotion. He has great, he kind of really was a contagious personality with his teammates, which was good. And even in like I said, I'm not evaluating people, but he popped in the game last night, just kind of popped out and was doing, it was weird. It's just like your eyes got drawn to him for some reason. And I think it's because he was doing good things on the ice. But I think it's always tough for those guys coming over. Obviously, they're back home, and then it can be a little bit harder in these environments. But I thought all of the guys did an outstanding job out there that were from overseas.
What do you make of?
I was going to ask you about Procarov. Like, when you talk about guys needing to get their eyes up, if Procarov can add that to his game with that kind of shot, like, what's the ceiling for a guy like that?
Pretty good. Yeah, I would say, because he was making pretty good passes without his eyes being up, and it's hard to communicate. Like, probably saw me doing hand signals out there. I don't know if it was penetrating or not, but that's something that you notice his eyes are down. But I think he'd be able to bring him up easily. He just doesn't know what we're saying.
Right,
And
yeah.
so that, it's patient. I worked with Michkov all last year. And so it's just a patience. And obviously they're great kids and stuff like that. And so, yeah, once they get over that kind of a language barrier and stuff, then those improvements start to happen. But I think it's great for him. He went to Sarnia, I think, right, the other day.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
expand. I think it'd be perfect for him playing the OHL.
Just what do you make of this fan base? You're obviously new to it here, but the way they turned out last night and
Outstanding. Yeah, from what I saw out there last night, there's a very passionate fan base without a doubt. So I'm excited about just being a part of this organization, moving forward.